are once again on location in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Quick Start Real Estate School, filming this week's Ask Ron.
Hello everybody, and you got the herd here today. You got more than you bargained for today. In fact, we are on location. We're having dinner tonight at Chuck and Hannah's house here, and she just cooked us the most fabulous dinner with the best potato salad, coleslaw, and sweet corn I've ever had. And we brought the herd together, so let me tell you who they are. This is Chuck Juergens on my right here, and Hannah's right behind him. And Chuck's our insurance guy, which I'll come back to here in just a second. This one is Lynette Wolf.
We're the Wolf couple!
That would be that one too.
I'm Brian.
Brian, and this is Delinda. Delinda has just started a RIA in, where are you?
Wilmington.
Wilmington, I knew it was somewhere up here. And she's also in our RIA mastermind group along with Chuck with a bunch of other club leaders around the country. This guy behind me is Jay Connor.
Hello
You've
there.
seen him before. He's your private money guy. Behind me is the Dumeyers. That would be Cindy and Tom. They're also mentors of ours. So, if you got a question we can't answer, it was a crappy question.
All right,
Fire away.
let's get started here. Our first question is from Marianne in California.
Hey, Marianne.
Marianne.
Who else?
Yes. So Marianne's first part of her question is, what form would I use if I plan on not staying in the middle of a terms deal, and is that the only paperwork the seller signs?
Marianne, the answer to that's the same as the last two times you asked it. If you're lease optioning the property, you know to use the short form lease option agreement with the seller, and that's all they sign. If you're purchasing from the seller, then they sign a purchase and sale agreement, and that's all they sign. Regardless of whether you're staying in or not staying in, those are the documents you use to take control of the property.
All right, I think her next part of her question is, do I give the seller a copy of the long form lease agreement
No.
and option agreement?
No. The seller gets the short form lease, which has an option contained in it, and that is it.
All right, and then her final part of her question is, does the seller ever find out how much I made from a buyer, and can they change anything to take more money?
They only find out if you tell them, and you have no reason to tell them unless you're assigning the agreement with your buyer back to your seller and getting out of the deal, which would be an axe deal.
Okay, that
Anybody else
concludes.
got any input on that?
You're right, Ron, you're right on that.
Okay.
That concludes Marianne's question for this week. We look forward to hearing from Marianne next week. Okay, the next
Leave
question.
her alone. She asks more questions than everybody. Leave
She
her alone.
does.
Yeah.
She needs a prize for that.
Yes, she
The
does.
next question is from Cecilia in California.
Okay.
Her first part of her question is it correct that an option is used strictly for flips or to a buyer rather than a tenant buyer?
Answer that, Cindy.
I just read the question again. What was it?
Is it correct that an option is used strictly for flips or to a buyer rather than a tenant buyer?
Not to a buyer. What?
She's talking about you have to make a distinction between a straight option and a lease option.
There's a big difference.
There's no component of possession with a straight option. You do not possess that property or have control of that property, but you can purchase it at an agreed upon price within a set time limit. So that's what an option is, and yes, your option seller is looking to cash out. That's why you go to that strategy. If they're willing to give you terms, then you should be looking to buy it on owner financing or with a sandwich lease purchase. But if they don't want to give you terms, the option is a great fallback position.
Now let me answer that question so you can understand it. In your short form lease option agreement has the option built into it. It's not separate. The long form agreement that you put a tenant buyer in the house has a lease and a separate option. Option is the instrument which allows you to buy the property. Without the option, you only have a lease. So an option can be used with or without the lease. Most of the training you're hearing from me, the option is with the lease, whether you're buying or selling.
All right, so the next part of Cecilia's question is, can I use a person as a trustee in a land trust if they are not the beneficiary? Or must it be an entity?
Want to answer that, Jay?
I'm gonna do a Cindy thing and say, now ask me that again.
No, I'll answer it. Yes, you can use a person as the trustee. However, I don't advise it because that person's name goes on public record even though they're as trustee. A lot of people and entities don't understand what that as trustee means, so they could assume that that person is responsible when in fact they're only the trustee. For example, I used to use my daughter's name as trustee, and on some crap properties and crap areas, and if they got nuisance and abatement liens on them for some reason, that lien would go against her. So I learned not to even put her name on public record. Oh, we got it off of her because they have no right to attach it to her, but why go through that crap if you don't need to? So since then I've always used an entity as trustee.
All right, then the next part is it okay to take title in a land trust with myself as a beneficiary and transfer to an LLC later?
It is okay to take title in a land trust with you as the beneficiary, and there's really no reason to transfer it to an LLC later. I have taken probably hundreds of properties in a land trust with me as the beneficiary.
All right, and then the final part of her question is, do you advise to get the seller's approval of a tenant buyer in a sandwich lease option deal?
Absolutely not. No. Everybody agree on that one?
Yes.
Correct.
No,
The answer's
absolutely
no.
not. The less you have to get the seller's approval, the better off you are, the less chance you got of them messing up your deal. So you get the agreement with the seller signed, then you go find the buyer, and that's none of the seller's business unless you're in a situation where the seller is involved in that because some deal will be made with the seller. I try to keep the seller out of my business, and I try to keep the buyer out of the seller's business. If that makes sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're put in a position where you're getting some kind of financing from the seller, they're gonna maybe wanna know what your strategy, what your exit plan is. And sometimes you have to disclose, okay, I work with lease purchase buyers and this is how it goes.
Yeah.
But if you can avoid doing that, that's the preferable way to go.
And you can avoid doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, just don't bring that up. Don't let that come out of your mouth. I mean, you can tell them that you intend to put a lease option tenant buyer in there, but don't get into a conversation about, I'll let you approve them. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. And there's a reason, because it just makes a mess. All right.
All right,
Questions? No?
nope, the next question is the final question from Reynold in the Sunshine State of Florida. And Reynold asks, what requirements do you use to determine if a property should be sold as a regular lease option or a work for equity deal?
Condition of the property. If I'm putting a tenant buyer in the house and it needs a lot of work, it's a work for equity. Unless, if I assume they're going to do it. If it's in good shape, then it's not a work for equity agreement, but it's still, my lease option agreement on your Go Club site, the regular one, still passes the repairs on to them, but it's really not a work for equity agreement because I'm not reducing the price. On a work for equity agreement, I reduce the price as a reason for them to do the work. It's a different agreement. Make sure if you're going to do work for equity, you use the sweat equity agreement on the site under work for equity. It's the one at the bottom of the list, and it clearly says sweat equity.
All right, that concludes the questions for this Ask Ron.
All right. I wanted you to hear from Chuck here. Guys, listen to me now. If you're going to have non-owner occupied property that you need insurance on, this is the man right here. We're lucky to have him with us tonight. I've been referring him business. He owes me big time, and
We'll get a good meal out of
as
this.
far as I know, I have.
Real
We
good.
just fed you tonight.
Really good food.
This guy right here saved me by 50% on my personal insurance on my non-owner occupied properties. Go ahead and tell them your number.
Yeah, it's 888-741-8454.
Say it again.
888. Can't you remember? 888-741-8454.
He's not always a smart ass like that.
And I'll also tell you this, I switched over to Chuck's company for our insurance. I have been with my own insurance company back home in eastern North Carolina for 11 years, and I switched to Chuck's company, and it also reduced our premiums in half. And what was so really cool is I didn't have to pay by the quarter or pay semi-annually. I pay month to month,
Really?
which means I was not stuck insuring a property and not getting money back after I'd sold it. I only insure it month to month,
There you go.
and it's self-reporting, and it's
I
just
didn't
a
even know
great
that.
business.
Here's something else. You don't care what name you take title of the property in. That's a big deal when you're dealing with big insurance companies. It's a hassle, actually. You want to take title in a trust? Do you care?
Nope.
Don't care. I don't care. So easy to deal with, cheap. What else you want to know? I mean, why would you call?
No inspections.
No inspections.
No inspection.
Well, and I will tell you
That's a
this.
biggie.
I will tell you this. They actually pay when you have a loss, so that's good to know too.
I haven't tested that one yet. I smell a fire coming from I'm just kidding. All right. So this is just another one of the benefits for being a Gold Club member. We just saved you 50% off of your non-owner
Big time,
house
big
insurance.
time.
All right. So that's it for now. Hang around. Go out and get some deals done, and we'll see you next week, I guess, at that time. Go make some money.
All right, see y'all.